not really see the audience, but hopefully we can chat in the audience.
Yeah.
Make sure to check us out as well.
Yeah, you can't see them, but you can feel them, right? You
feel.
you know that they're out there listening to us or watching us, right?
I can feel you guys. I can feel you.
Exactly. So first and foremost, Tony San Gabriel, sir, tell us a little bit more about yourself. I know I already gave them the kind of lowdown of what you do, but as far as this hydroponic farms group is concerned, the largest hydroponic farm in Cebu, what brought you to this particular technology of hydroponics?
Yes, well, food is really an important component of our lives, ang atong kinabuhi, no?
Of course.
Me personally started in Rise and Rebuild International Foundation.
Okay.
And in that organization, our vision is to help Filipino families rise out of chronic poverty, so that they can help themselves have a better life and future. So that's where I started. And in the process of doing so, right, we're thriving only on donations from overseas, mostly the United States. But then a strategy came into being, which is, wait a minute, if we're going to teach self-reliance as a principle, we should be self-reliant ourselves and not just leaning on donations, but generating our own source of revenue. So that's when the hydroponic technology came into the picture. And so we started about close to 2 years ago. We built our own technology ourselves, and eventually we hired a farm manager that is highly experienced both on hydroponic indoor and hydroponic technology outdoor. So that's where we find ourselves at the moment. So the primary objective, of course, of the Goodson Hydroponics basically is to grow the best salad vegetables, green and red, microgreens, including leafy.
So which brings me to my next question. Unsa man gyud ang hydroponics, sir? What does that actually mean when you say hydroponic technology, or how do you say it? Hydroponic farming? What's the correct way of saying hydroponic? Is it a farming technology? What?
Yes. Basically, it is a technology.
Okay.
It's a farming technology. From the root word alone, it's Greek, right? It's hydro means water. Ponus means working with.
Okay.
So this is really growing vegetables more sustainably.
Okay.
Just using water. And then
No land.
No land.
Okay.
At all. In fact, you can even elevate it to multiple layers if you can, for as long as you have a support technology. One of the blessings of this, Jiggy, is the productivity is times 10. Multiplied 10 times compared to the soil, traditional growing of vegetables.
So maybe you can explain further the technology. Is there like a magic chemical in the water? Is it like in the air, or do you like chant prayers or sing songs to the plants so that they'll grow 10 times more than if they're planted on the soil? Tell us a little bit more about the technology.
Is there a secret magician?
Exactamundo. That's my question.
All right.
Because it seems weird that, we've always I grew up knowing that, because we have some land in the province too, and, you plant your vegetables on land. So
yes.
There's got to be like something. Where does the magic lie?
Yes. When you come to think about the traditional agriculture, right, the soil actually is the source of the nutrition. That's where the plant gets the nutrition. Second, the soil becomes like the holder, the one that holds the plants to stand up, right? In hydroponic, the nutrition is in the water that flows through it, and the roots kind of like touch only the water that is flowing. And there's a system where you can put the plants where the plants stand up, so that the roots hit the water during the nutrition. So when you come to think of it, they're very similar, except that the medium of growing is different.
Kaya ako nahibaw ko nga naay uban nga yuta sa amo ang lugar in our area nga medyo it's not conducive to planting certain crops, right? And there's some of those that are too clayish. You know, it looks brownish and clayish. It's not
Yes.
good for planting in general. So you have to plant like mga other kinds of plants. Let's say calamansi, for example, which is a low maintenance kind of a crop or of a plant. So when your mentality is like that, when you've grown up to know that there are different kinds of soil for different kinds of plants, and here you go, telling the world nga, it's just water that's required. So have we been missing out on something? Why is it that soil is important? And if you don't bring soil into the equation of planting, are you missing out on something? Are the plants anemic? Are the plants different versus using soil as a base to grow them?
Yeah, we're not missing anything at all.
Okay.
In fact, this is the way in my mind. Why? Because in soil, the nutrition is very scattered, right? So, for example, if you water the soil, you water the plants, and then you have to water the soil, right? The water doesn't necessarily go all to the plants. It goes down the drain. Here, it goes directly to the
plants.
roots.
To the roots.
And then it circulates and it goes back and forth. And then you put nutrition in the water. Exactly the kind of nutrition that you do or you'll find in the soil.
So you mimic the nutrition on the soil.
Yes, and even more enhanced and more complete. Because in the soil, it's parang manghula lang ka. Kay, uy, naabay potassium man eh.
Yeah.
O naabay
Well,
phosphorus.
there is a way to measure the nutrients of the soil, right?
Yes.
There's a scientific way of doing that.
Yes.
So what you're doing is you're mimicking whatever a good soil would provide a
Yes.
plant, but only in chemical form,
Yes.
right? Diba, people have always been fuzzing about and making a big deal out about organic here, organic that, right? So because you're using artificial nutrients, right? It's not directly from the soil. It's made somewhere in a laboratory somewhere and then fed to the plants through the water. Does it mean that, number one, your vegetables are not considered organic? And number two, does it have the chemical residue that is associated with using chemicals?
Yeah. There's a big misunderstanding, I think, about organic. In the plants right now on soil, they would use fertilizer, for example. I think they call it organic because they don't involve other chemicals that's man-made or synthetic, as they call it. But in reality, Jiggy, kaning atong mga fertilizers are actually as natural as you can get it because they're taken from rocks in the mountains, and that can be as natural. But sometimes pag abot na din sa syudad, ang tanaw na nila synthetic no. Pero dili. It's the same as natural as any other fertilizer. So, in the water for hydroponic, that's basically the same chemicals.
Okay,
that's
but
being
but
used
would you
as-
be able to technically call your produce organic or no?
in the Philippines? No.
Okay.
In the US, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because in the US, hydroponic is now classified as organic. But in the Philippines, they only classify it organic if it's soil-based. So that's our definition.
Okay.
There's an article about that stateside, U.S. Department of Agriculture. There's also a big fight about that because organic growers, they are able to jack up their price really so high, right? And of course, you don't want to change that because they're making good money with that perspective. But there was a case regarding the matter, and
Like a legal case, you mean?
yeah, legal
Okay.
case. USDA won
Okay.
that this is organic. But in the Philippines, that may take.
Yeah.
It depends on who is advocating what. right?
Whether you like it or not, the Philippines kind of or usually looks up to the states,
The
right?
US,
When it
yes.
comes to developments. Actually, that is kind of a for me not a very good thing that we have to. Although it makes life easier to have a big brother to look at But some of the things that we look up to when it comes to laws, for example, some of them don't apply to us, and we still insist on looking at out of habit and out of our past, also because we're, colonial territory of many nations, right? And speaking of colonial, I say speaking of colonial because we always talk about how everything is related to our colonizers. We have Justin Narvios. Good morning, Nimodia. Justin Narvios. He's actually somewhere out there. Good morning, Justin.
Hi,
Hi,
Ati.
Jiggy.
Ati
Good morning.
Justin.
Hi, Jiggy. Hi, Raj. And also to Sir San Gabriel. Thank you so much for joining us on TMC. I, on the other hand, could not make it to the tops on time. So I'm using just Wi-Fi here at IT Park. But
Yeah.
I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
I can hear you. We can hear you. You can hear her, right?
Okay.
Yep.
So
Okay,
we were just
perfect.
talking about how there was a landmark ruling about hydroponic technology. The produce from hydroponic technology can be considered organic in the United States, but it has not been considered organic yet in the Philippines in the Philippines yet, and how we will probably perhaps follow suit, right? And that's why I remembered you, because you're the girl who always blames our colonial our colonizers in every mishap,
Yes,
every
indeed.
misfortune that you have.
Exactly. Actually, that's my answer to everything. No, whenever something goes wrong, I'm like, this is the fault of our colonizer. But
Colonizers.
that's my joke. But I'm happy,
Yeah.
that this is something that's also homegrown.
Yeah.
Kaninga negosyo,
Correct.
hydroponics, being the largest hydroponic farm in So Good, Sir
Or
Tony. That's
in
So Good,
Cebu,
right?
in Cebu, yeah.
In Cebu, but
The
I
largest-
think it's located in So Good, no?
in
Yes, so good.
in so good. So in terms of the produce, the output, there's no difference. Or even they actually look beautiful. I don't know if you can see it, guys. Tanawa ko rin sa inyong mga kaning YouTube channels or sa inyong Facebook. I'm actually beside what do we call them? Let's give it a name.
Greens.
Huh?
Green.
Greens. We call them greens.
No,
But that one is Maximus.
Maximus.
Romaine.
Let's
Romaine.
let's call it Maximus. Right beside me is actually
There we go.
There you go. So this is the actual output of the Godson Hydroponic Farm in So Good, right? Tell us about these varieties, sir, and what makes them special.
Okay. The romaine, which is in the middle, the petchay looking.
Petchay looking, that is.
Yes, kana ang romaine, no? That's the number one variety for 5-star hotels
Okay.
and restaurants. Normally, wealthy eaters of salad, they look up to romaine really. For
Wealthy
example-
eaters.
Yes, for example, if you
Okay.
go to TGIF,
Okay.
Italianis, that's the main
They're like
variety of lettuce.
Mm.
The one just below it, the one that's colored purple or red, we call it red orbital. Normally, kana murag to add color or aesthetic to the salad, right? When you put them in a plate.
you could say like contrast to the salad.
Yes, it does really present that contrast. And the one to the left, if you're looking at it right now, one to the left is limambo. And behind limambo is lalik. Now, those two are somewhat new in the market. Bag-o gina sila. Ngano kay kita man gud sa Pilipinas karon, we are used to iceberg, which is really, really good. Very, very crunchy. But iceberg are generally speaking grown in the hinterlands. I don't know if they have it here in Busay, but most of our icebergs coming from Baguio City and some in Bukidnon.
Is it because it's colder in Baguio?
Yeah, it's really the weather that drives it. Second, that's 90 days growing. But these two alternatives, you can grow it for 30 days. The one at the very back is the most famous one. The one behind the red one is Olmeti.
Olmeti.
Yeah, or green Batavia,
Okay.
as they call it. That's the very common sangyupsal salad where they wrap, the meat that you
Yummy.
kind of like. Yes,
Yeah.
the one that you grill. So that's sort of like the
So
the
'cause-
basic. Now, earlier you did mention about hydroponics, right? And the organic. For example, water lily. Water lily is not grown in soil. It's grown.
yes,
It's floating on the water. So it's natural. When you come to really think of it, it just get the nutrients from
The water.
from the water
Yeah.
itself already.
Yeah.
So
And you can imagine that a water lily feeds from the nutrients from the water because in a pond or maybe in nature there are other organisms that probably help
Yes.
produce the nutrients that
Right.
the water lily can consume. So kani sila murag gwapa man kay nistanan sila sir. Usa mo ni mga Miss Universe sa inyong farm or this is typical of what you see in your hydroponic farm?
yes and no. Yes, in the sense na kani mga 2 weeks old lang ni sila.
Okay.
Pero kung mapaabot pa nato nag 3.5 weeks or even 4 weeks,
Wow.
they double in size.
Oh, okay.
So they're really
Wow.
humongous looking vegetables. Like I said kanina, 10 times productivity. And I think the value more than anything else is these are pesticide free.
Chemical free.
Nga naman, nga nung pesticide, how does it, why
Kay this is
is it pesticide free?
sealed.
Okay.
Our system is sealed.
In a greenhouse.
Yeah, insects could hardly get in.
Mhm.
Even when I go to our greenhouse, we have to put a plastic,
Like PPE. It's like PPE.
almost like a PPE, not entirely the body, but in the shoes.
Okay.
Then there's we have a biohazard protocol, biosecurity protocol, right? We just want to make sure that we don't also bring the insects. Why? Because outside, when you grow something like this, it will be bombarded by insects. Before you know it, there's no leaves anymore. Ubos na gina, urot na gina siya. So, with our environment, di na sa kinahanglan.
So it's almost like a sterile environment.
Sterile environment.
Okay.
Contaminant-free.
So the probability of contamination, the probability of disease of insects is minimized, if not eliminated completely.
Yes.
I'm sure nothing is 100%, right?
Yes, nothing is 100%.
But most of the time, they're pesticides free because it's disease free in a sterile
Yes.
environment, right?
Exactly.
How about the sun part? Like, how do you because you can't control the sun, right? You can
Yes.
hey sun, tone it down a little bit, bro. So how do you control that part?
Yes. We have, our system is hybrid.
Okay.
Hybrid meaning, okay, it's enclosed in a plastic. So when there's sunlight, no problem. When there's clouds, we have a concern because the kaning mga tanom nato to digest nutrition, they need sunlight. We call that photosynthesis. Right?
Yeah.
So pag cloudy na siya, Jiggy,
It's a bit hard.
we now have LEDs.
To simulate the sun.
Yes, to simulate the sun. So that the growing digestion of food continues for the plants, right?
We're anthropomorphizing plants, but they actually also do digest food. Justin,
They do.
they have a kind of figurative stomach somewhere in their anatomy.
Yes, they do.
Justin, do you have a question there, Justin? Go ahead. Kay mura makag ni imong dunggan ni tangkag nakadungog kag samjupsal.
Yeah, actually, I like how Sir Tony made it relatable. Ni-mention siya sa ato mga favorite restaurants here in Cebu,
Yeah.
mga favorite cuisine. So, exactly that, Gini. Ano, gid ako mga dunggan when I heard samgyeopsal, Italian food. But, Sir Tony, I'd like to ask a question regarding, I don't know if this is a misconception or what, because I only have very, very limited more knowledge on the topic of hydroponic plants. Pero I came across this article that said something about how it's sustainable in terms of kung naabot ang mga bagyo sa Philippines. Is that true, sir? Is that validated by what you mentioned? It's no problem at all if there's an issue with sunlight. For example, you can always mimic that with LED or is that true, ba, sir? Na hydroponic plants or growing plants this way could be the next new way or sustainable way to grow plants despite mga typhoon.
Before you answer that question, sir, hi from Rise and Rebuild International Foundation Cebu from Christian Jake Gamboa. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, tinood Justin, no? Kay kani whole year round continuous ang atong production. This is interesting to know nga ang rain actually is the number one enemy of plants.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And that when I say rain,
I would think opposite.
that's too much water. Yes.
They drown.
Yes, but not only drowning, But it when the water touches the leaves and it stays there,
Yeah.
then that draws insects, that draws
That's so
fungus
yes.
also. That allows them to stick on the leaves. In
It
the
rots.
hydroponic environment, wala na siya problema or highly minimized. So really, whole year round, you can supply. Sa gawas
Wow.
God, ang problem naton season. At
Yes, sir.
considering our weather condition right now, it's very unpredictable, Justine. Siguro makamot lagog ulo ang atong mga farmers kung saon ilang himuon nga mag-promise sila pananglitan sa kaning customer, then they just call one day, ma'am, we cannot really supply. Ano kay naulanan man gid mi or naurot man
Yeah.
gud ang dahon. Ang problem pagod naton kung sa gawas kanang bombahan gid ni siya og pestisidyo. Kay kung walay pesticide, urot gid ang dahon. Justin, but in a sealed environment, wala ni siya problema.
We avoid that.
Yes, we
Okay.
can avoid that problem. So, and that's why the joke sometimes I will not mention the place. No, sometimes in Cebu when they grow vegetables, they mention we don't eat our own vegetables. Let Cebu City eat our vegetable. Diba? Because they bombard them with pesticide, right? So, amo na ang challenge ko natin sa gawas.
So I'd like to ask lang now, if let's say there's gonna be a storm that will be happening somewhere near Sogod, is the greenhouse safe or?
Our greenhouse can withstand category 4
Wow.
storm. So beyond that, of course, that's another story. We will have to capex again, so to speak. Right?
Well, I think the typhoon problem is just a structural concern, right? I mean, like if you build a sturdy greenhouse, then it'll withstand,
Yes, it can
any
withstand that.
storm. It's just a
Yes.
matter of
That's
figuring out how strong you can make the edifice, the structure, right? I'm curious, but this sounds like and looks like a no-brainer. This sounds like something that everybody should be doing, like en masse. Like, I'm curious, why haven't we reached that point? What are the factors that are stopping everyone from going into hydroponic and stopping them from just planting on soil and developing their own hydroponic farm? What are the barriers to entry?
Yes. Number one is capex.
When you say capex, what do you mean? Capital expenditures. Okay.
Nagit siya capital, no?
Like what, for example? What do you
For
actually
example,
need?
the greenhouse
Okay.
itself. That's made of iron
Okay.
bars. You can also do greenhouse nga bamboo.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Actually, daghan tay backyard din Cebu. Atay backyard. So they can also supply small stores and that.
So, but those structural issues, the structure, the greenhouse, right? Masubstitute naman like you said, bamboo, diba? And you can also make smaller bamboo greenhouses, right? So that doesn't look like too much cost if you just scale it down to whatever you have in your surroundings and whatever you can afford, right? So there is a cheaper version of the greenhouse that you mentioned. So
Yes.
I don't see that as a barrier to entry. Maybe knowledge. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't know about it, right?
Knowledge is one also because
Is it complicated?
I think this is something that is not quite distributed.
Okay.
This information
Yes,
to the
that's so
people,
true.
generally speaking. I don't know why they keep, and I don't know. I cannot speak for government.
Okay,
right,
okay.
how they do this.
Okay.
Right? But to me, if there's one good program of government to help the farmers, this is it.
You see, like for example, when you go to China, for example, you see like 90% electric cars, for example, right? So the usage of a certain technology is massive. It's almost like 100%. What part of the world can we look up to in terms of hydroponic technology being widely used? What's our idol country for this kind of technology?
Israel.
Whoa!
Yes.
Really now?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
For some
Okay.
reason, I thought Europe would be, ahead of the game. when
Yeah.
it comes to
Mhm.
hydroponics,
It's
but Israel.
I was surprised because like they're being bombarded by bombs
Yeah.
from Iran and vis-a-vis, right? So
War.
why Israel? Did they invent this technology?
I think because of the scarcity of the resources,
Okay.
they were driven to a superior mind thinking.
Okay.
Because
So they invented this technology.
yeah, they
okay.
came up with it. They're very very good really with
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they were the pioneers
Okay.
of hydroponic, but
Okay.
they're one of the best.
Okay.
Wow.
And for example, I'll give you an example. They have a franchise, for example, where you get a package of all this to start with,
Okay.
but that cost about 2 million pesos.
Like a starter kit.
Yeah, starter kit,
Mhm.
2 million pesos.
Mhm.
That's why it's way above the capacity of
Okay.
most people
Okay.
to really begin.
So Israel is near 100% of their farming hydroponic. They don't use their land looks very arid though. Like usually, init kaysa na, it's almost like desert, right?
Yep.
And you're right. It's a very small country,
Yes.
right? And that's where all the smart people come from for some reason, right?
Mhm.
And there is a rumor that they're ruling the world, right?
Oh.
People from that place.
Secretly.
Yeah, but let's not talk about that because it's a very sensitive issue now, especially with the war going
The
on.
war going on.
And
Yes,
and all of that stuff. So Israel is the country that uses it the most. Um, um,
most countries right now, Jiggy, are also into hydroponics. Even China,
okay.
they and you know how China is when they see something like this, they even magnify it. They've got huge farm greenhouses that are automated.
Wow. Okay.
Push buttons, right? Including all the monitoring is on the dashboard.
So
Wow.
I'm just curious, but and so sorry to belabor the point, but there's something in my mind at least unnatural about this, diba? Because this is not the
Yeah.
usual way of growing crops,
Planting,
right?
Yeah.
So when you compare the best plant grown from soil and the best plant grown from hydroponic technology, the best of the best, are they the same? Are they equal? Is something is one better than the other?
I'd like to think they're the same.
Okay.
Well, given all the environment that's
Equal.
perfect for
Yeah,
plants,
yeah.
yes. If you do an apple to apple,
Yeah.
they're probably the same.
The same exact.
Yes, yes. Except that in the soil environment, you don't have better control of the factors of production. Like I said, the weather and all that.
Correct. Yeah. There's so many
But
variables.
here,
Yeah.
you're trying to control
Everything,
the
yeah.
factors of production.
Okay. And at the same time, what you would usually plant in on soil is constricted by the area, right? The size
Yeah, that's
of
the
the
environment.
of the soil, right? Of the land. In the meantime, when you do hydroponics, you mentioned to me you can actually have multiple levels, right?
Yes.
So did you say 10 levels?
It depends on your setup. It can probably go that high.
Okay.
But to do that, you've got to have LEDs in every
Oh,
In
layers.
each level.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Or you can design it to where it's exposed as much as possible to where the sunlight is.
Okay.
Right? So even setting up your greenhouse should be sunlight oriented.
Okay.
Yes. But like you said, you can only do as much as sunlight. Like the clouds, you can't control clouds.
yeah.
Even sunlight. Right?
Yeah.
And I have seen these LEDs in the So Good farm, and I don't know if you've seen those TikTok videos at the Justin Jiggy Juice, where like those TikTokers, you will see those LED lights in the rooms. It's the exact same LED lights that's being used on
okay.
the farms.
By the way, good morning, Modia Stephen Villanueva. Hello, TMC. Shout out to Barangay Ampungol. Asa kaning Barangay Ampungol. Daghang salamat sa imong pagpaminaw. Kung na kay pangutana diha sa Facebook, just feel free to post your question on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. Pangutana lang mo. Na question day. How big is the profit once you sell? So I guess he wants to compare. Siguro Steven wants to compare. If he wants to do this as a business, if you planted in soil and versus if you planted in hydroponics, are the margins the same?
Oh, way better.
Okay.
In hydroponic. I mentioned that the productivity is 10 times.
Okay.
That alone is a defining moment
Okay,
for
okay.
profitability.
Okay.
Kung can you imagine, maka 10 times ka makaproduce in the same size environment. So your profit could be what? Multiple times
Okay.
than the one side. The other thing kanina that was mentioned that I forgot to at least give some kind of perspective there. In outside in the soil, you have got to do crop rotation. Ngano kay ang peste, pag mag-stay na sa plants na kaning plants, naagod sila, they build their houses there in the soil. You have to crop rotate so that you can outsmart them, right? So they have no more food, the same food that they used to eat. So can you just imagine when you deal with that on a regular basis every time? And this one, same thing.
No need.
Every time, no need, right? So,
you know, one of the biggest expenses of any operation is usually electricity, right? I mean, like if you're a mall, you have millions of pesos of electric bill. A radio station that requires a lot of electricity to operate, right? So, in some way, because you mentioned LED, right? Is that the biggest source of expense as far as electricity goes?
yes, that would be. However, there's also solar technology.
Okay.
So you bring in the solar technology to it, and you have probably one of the lowest electrical consumption.
Pero kanang
But capex again, right? Capital expenditure again.
So solar technology is kind of pricey when you start, right? And then the return of investment is also long term, right?
Right.
So so kana yung kuryente. So but again, because you can scale it, you can plant, let's just say, depending on the size of your greenhouse, multiple layers, multiple levels, as opposed to just one level if it's just on soil, right? So I'm curious about, like, because you have the biggest farm, a hydroponic farm in Cebu, right? In the whole entire island of Cebu, you have the biggest farm in So Good. How are people reacting to it? Have you spoken to, or have you come across farmers or regular people or businessmen? Like, how are they looking at hydroponic technology? Do they look at it as a threat to the traditional farming, or I'm curious, how do they see it?
I haven't spoken really to the farmers.
Okay.
Right now, that's doing soil born plants. However, we're hitting different markets, right? Normally, the farmers, they can sell their price. Their produce in carbon, for example, and they get paid the lowest, right? The people that makes money sometimes are the distributors.
Of course, yeah.
The middle people.
Yeah, I think that's common knowledge, and I think I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think that's another topic that we can talk about later on. Go ahead, continue, sir.
In our case, that's from the farm direct to the table.
Okay.
So we don't have middle people, generally speaking. So you can just imagine your profitability. There's some reasonable profit, right? We also don't want to go way beyond, because there may be no takers, right? If you sell too high, really at the end of the day, the boss is still the customer. They decide. So when you look at the tier of the market, if you're selling, for example, in tier 1 5-star hotels, they can afford a lot higher prices, right? What they're looking for, Jiggy and Justine, is continuity, sustainability, and no interruptions in supplies.
Correct. Yeah.
Now, if you depend only on the seasons, there you go. There will be interruptions. That's number one interruption issue. For example, if there's already flooding or what you call this rains, then you say, sir,
La Nina.
I'm sorry, sir, wala may production karon, sir, kay
nagbagyo.
kusog magandang ulan. Bisan ulan lang, there's not even a storm, no? So ana ang challenge. So kaning mga hotels and top-notch restaurant, if you're running this business, you don't want interruptions in your operations. You don't want that when somebody was, hey, can I have a romaine salad? Oh, sir, I'm sorry, we don't have a supply right now. So, ana good ang challenge.
But you mentioned earlier that your price points are kind of high, right? Compared to if you purchased your vegetables in the carbon market, right? Why is that? Why are your prices higher than the usual carbon market vegetables? Is it because it costs higher to produce your vegetables? You mentioned that it's not, right? In fact, you said when you're answering the question from Steven de Villanueva that it's actually cheaper to produce your kinds of vegetables. Why are your vegetables priced higher than the usual vegetables
Yeah.
in Cebu?
Two things. We also don't want to compete with the farmers.
Okay.
Right? Because naman gud sila ay hanap buhay. So
Okay.
let's give them a chance to. So we don't want to compete kanang ilang market here. So dinigid kami
Yeah.
so something higher.
Okay.
People that can afford.
Okay.
People that are also looking for uninterrupted supply.
Okay.
So perfect match
Okay.
for
Okay.
us.
So it is a perfect match of what the market needs and what you can
Yeah.
provide, right?
Yes.
But you have to be specific with your market, right? But
Mm.
and you're right. I mean, like even if your output is the same, they can't do it consistently, and you can
Yes.
because you have different variables. The people kana mananom sila sa yuta, they have so many variables. In the meantime, come on, murag medyo you have controlled everything practically, right? So that's why you are consistent with your supply. But you mentioned also earlier that you're also trying to do this to help feed people, right? I mean, like
That's right.
feed them for free. Tell us about that component of this whole advocacy or this whole endeavor. What do you mean by feeding people?
Yeah. We have a sister company.
Okay.
Sister organization. Our vision is to support the vision of Rise and Rebuild International Foundation. What do? They help families overcome chronic poverty
Mm-hmm.
and help them become better so that moving forward in their lives they
Okay.
have a better future, right?
Okay.
And we cannot do everything. Our resources are also limited. So we realize when you put that in the matrix, where's the greatest impact? We
Okay.
discovered, Jiggy and Justine, that the greatest impact is on the young people.
The children.
The children, because right now 95 Filipino kids die every day due to undernutrition. 27 out of every 1,000 Filipino children cannot even reach the age of 5 years old. They die
Because
So-
of undernutrition. right?
undernutrition. So sometimes we use the word feeding. Actually, what we do is nutrition. Because because there could be food around, right? Pero if it's the wrong food, you get
that's
into trouble, right,
It's like-
Justine? So in our case, we intervene at the most crucial stage. One, lactating mothers,
Okay.
pregnant mothers, and children. That's where we intervene. Because the brains shrinks, right? Or lack of protein, lack of iron,
Lack of
and lack of
vitamins.
iodine, and these vitamins. That's very, very important. So, pag hindi ka naka-intervene dyan, pag di ni mo na matabangan, murag ang 1 plus 1 diha, 11. Wag kanang mga cognition issues naton. Bisan unsan pa natong himuon
Yes,
diya,
yes.
Justin, di na gud siya maka-grasp, di ba?
Yes, sir. Oo.
Nubo na gid ang cognition sa ang IQ level. So, we're saying that kung matabo nato na, mahimo nato na, they have a better fighting chance. Right
Yeah,
when
yeah.
they're out there.
So that's also part of why you went into this kind of business, right? The Goodson Hydroponics farm is because of that. Now you're also helping your sister company Rise and Rebuild International Foundation. Kani bang chronic poverty ba? It is a problem that is number one chronic, and it's not just isolated here in the third
In the
world.
Philippines.
There are many countries out there, even first world countries have poverty problems
Yes.
also. I know. I don't know if you're the person to ask, but I'm just gonna ask this anyway. Where do you think this problem comes from? Why do we always have this chronic poverty problem all over the world?
As an issue.
If you had to look at it from a macro perspective, look at the globe. We live in many ways in the most productive, the most innovative. We live in the best of times. We have all the technology in the world. We have AI. We have developed so many great things as a species, right? But still, that age-old problem of poverty persists, right? Ngano ka, sir? Unsay tan-aw mo? So what are the roots of this problem?
It's really complex, right?
I know.
At a certain point in time. But when you come to think of it, in certain countries, when the economy is poor, when there's not enough economic churn, right? What happens is those that have better access to resources wins. those
Yeah.
that don't have access to resources are defeated. Very so.
That's right.
A lot of this is really lack of access to resources. Maybe there's ample resources, but they are not able to access. You mentioned earlier about allocations.
Yeah.
Right? If it's misallocated somewhere, and even if it's there in front of me, but if I don't have access to it, then I lose by default.
So this is really inequality, right?
It is.
The world is very unequal. The distribution of wealth is concentrated in the top 1%, and everybody else is suffering, right? A lot of people are actually below the poverty line, and they can't even feed themselves. So
Exactly.
I know, again, this is an ambitious question, but I just have to ask it, just for the sake of asking it, and so I can put it out there. So what can we do, sir, to take advantage of this? The word that I love to use, because I just read from a book a few days ago, is abundance. We actually have abundant resources all over the world. It is the distribution that's the problem, not the lack of abundance. Is that a correct way of framing this?
I think the resources is one, right? The mentality also is another.
Yeah.
If you,
Okay.
you've got to educate the people that for instance, hey, you can do this.
Okay.
You can rise about it, right? And then supply them with access or allow them some access of pertinent, needed, vital resources at certain juncture of their lives.
Okay.
Then they can be. We have seen many stories of poor people that have risen.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
we have a lot of stories
Rags
like
to riches
that,
stories,
right?
yeah.
Rags to riches stories. So it's really possible.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
mentality is one. For example, in our case, right now, it looks like it's feeding, but actually it's nutrition. We're trying and education. We also educate at the same time, because
Awareness.
we might just end up with just feeding, and we're not really we're giving a man a fish, right? Not helping him.
Educating them how to do the same
Yes,
thing,
how to
and
do it.
hydroponic. Or no, something else.
Yes, our next intervention actually, Jiggy, is to the parents. Why? Because at the end of the day, it's the parents that's supposed to feed their kids.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So our next agenda moving forward, as soon as we make good sales and continue the feeding, we will use our resources also to train the parents on
That's nice.
livelihood, right? Because
That's a
really the
program.
bottom line is increased income. That's really the bottom line. If your
Yes,
income is
yes.
low and your purchasing power is low, right? So you are not able to access the better nutritious food.
Justin, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, you know what? I really like where this conversation was going, especially with Sir Tony's advocacy with the Rise in with their partnership with Rise and Rebuild Foundation International. And I like how Jiggy is mentioning about resources, no, and that's inevitably like the main common denominator for a lot of impoverished communities. Good. What do they lack? It's really access to these resources. So I wanted to ask Sir Tony, but I feel like hydroponics is often seen as it's high tech, it's expensive. As you mentioned in Israel, for example, starter kits pa lang to start this. Like if the government would want to make use of this, minimum is probably mga 2 million pesos. So I would like to believe that for the most part, it is something that could be seen as out of reach for average Filipinos, especially those in impoverished communities. But do you see this, Sir Tony, as or this technology? Do you see this as something that could become practical and accessible for the minority so that they can grow their own food sustainably?
Is that the
if
goal?
so-
Is that the goal?
yeah, and if so, how do we start it? Like, how do the least of us, or how do the average Filipinos take part in it and maximize? Like where do we start? I think that's where I just want to ask.
Great question. I think we need leadership with vision. For example, just the technology of hydroponics, right? How can poor farmers access this technology?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
That's the question. Oo.
What's possible is you do a contract growing model,
Okay.
right? The wealthy people will put some kind of an investment, or maybe the government, for all we know, right? Put something in in certain places, and then the integrator buys all their produce, and the integrator sells it to hotels, top-notch restaurants, because the poor also are not excellent marketers. right? That's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
also their forte. That's not their experience. They don't rub shoulder with the wealthy, right? They rub shoulder with the fellow poor. So how do you be able to access even the bigger markets? You cannot, right? So if you have that concept, for example, of contract growing,
Okay.
even in small areas, and they have their own greenhouses there, maybe in certain communities, and then you have the volume now to sell. Then you can
Okay, okay.
be no interruption of supply, right? Because right now,
Okay.
if you do it independently, they talk to their own customers, right? And then they scratch their heads. Pagkahuman, ay, wala,
Yeah.
kusog magandang ulan, sir. Di mo kita makasupply. So the same problem is repeated over and over again. So if those greenhouses are there, even small ones, compute na
Yeah.
to na kani ang imong income ani ma'am, no? Pagkahuman nila every month, mag-income ka og 30,000 pesos. Can you imagine if the income was 5,000 right now to 30,000? That's poverty alleviation. Right?
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so kani pwede ni siya, dili lang ni siya model for hydroponics. This could be a good model for any other technology. For example, backyard crab raising. Namatay mga
Crab mini pasayan kaning seafoods.
Dili, ang alimango.
Alimango.
Oh, karon,
Alimango,
they grow
okay.
now in they call boxes behind your house. And
Yeah.
wala sila kompetensya, dili sila mamatay. Ngano kay walay unsa ganina? Kanang makaon man gini sila. Di ba pag luno na sila, kaunon kani wala na siya issue. Ngano kay independent boxes man sila.
Wow, okay.
Tapos i-feed mo lang murag pets nimo, ana lang siguro ang problema jig no pagbaligya na nimo, uy.
Maluoy ka.
Oh, maluoy makay si pet na nimo.
Si Dodo. Ato na ibliga si Dodo. Kaluoy sa ni Dodo.
Ang mga anak di na masug.
Di na masuk. Ano na ibliga maoy? Di na to.
Oh, karon ha, ang technology, you can actually raise lapu-lapu in your backyard.
Wow.
You can raise pampano in your backyard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can.
Pampano, that's my
Yeah.
favorite fish, by the way.
Yes, with
yeah.
technology. With technology. If we can just help the poor
Okay.
set up starter kit, but
Yes,
control the market, right?
Okay.
Buy all their produce,
Mm.
right? Isn't that similar to Department of Agriculture program today that they buy all the palay,
Okay.
right? Even at a price that higher,
Yeah.
just to make sure that they make money. If you can do this, this is even a higher value than rice.
Okay.
Rice is cheap.
Yeah.
This one, alimango, is 1,600 per kilo.
Mm.
So you can also grow prawns in your backyard,
Yeah.
all by technology.
Yeah.
This is done in Taiwan, done in Malaysia. So why haven't we been doing this in the Philippines?
Yeah.
So that's always the question. So
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have that answer,
Yeah.
Jiggy.
Yeah. I'm curious. You're the biggest farm in hydroponic farm in Cebu is in So Good. Is that a strategic reason why? Is there a strategic reason why it's in So Good, or just a random
Yeah,
location?
it's a funny story
Okay.
because we started with just the nutrition at the very beginning.
Okay.
And we were contented with donation.
Okay.
Then new leadership came that are more visionary and say, hey, we're teaching self-reliance to people. We've got to be self-reliant ourselves. So if we now make our money and then donations continues, the donations will use for expansion. In fact, next year, we might open one in Luzon. Because the market, Jiggy, and just in Luzon, it blows your mind for lettuce, greens, probably about 7 billion a year. Now, I don't have supra dreams of biting the 7 million. I'll just bite 10%. Right?
Just
or 5%,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Just a bite in the or a drop in a bucket. That's it. You begin there, and then before you know it, you're there, right? Then the others will be opening in areas where the resorts are located.
So right now,
We have a lot of areas that we can think of. Maybe Justin and I will build our own hydroponic farm in Siargao, right? Justin, right?
let's go. So right now, what you're saying is whatever money that Goodson is making is also going straight to R&R.
It goes straight to
You know what? The world has so many problems, right? We have so many problems that need our attention. I'm curious. Huh? Why did you choose hunger? Why did you choose nutrition? Why not other problems of the world?
Actually, can I help answer
Go
that?
ahead, please.
So
ahead,
the Rise and Rebuild, I partnered with Rise and Rebuild for my defense in school.
Okay.
And then so when I was doing research for this for our advocacy as a family as well, I did research where, according to UNICEF's 2018 data, it was also mentioned that 95
Percent.
children,
Oh.
no, 95 children die every day.
Every day,
due
okay.
to undernutrition and malnutrition.
Okay.
So the reason why hunger is also focused right now, because even with that 2018 data, I don't know if you know, but on October 15 last year, Senator Alan Peter Cayetano mentioned about the 4Ps, the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program. Even
Okay.
with that program, the data right now, currently, also including last year, still hasn't changed from UNICEF's 2018 data.
Time out. You're crossing two things here, I think. When you say 95 kids die of malnutrition, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is this the Philippines or the world?
Philippines.
Philippines.
Only the Philippines.
Only
Only the Philippines.
Are you serious? UNICEF is a global NGO,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So only in the Philippines,
Yes.
95
they have
kids,
studies.
95 kids die of malnutrition
Every day.
every day.
Every day.
Wow. Okay, I thought it was a global statistic.
not.
That is a lot of kids dying of malnutrition,
Oh, yeah.
right?
In the
So-
Philippines alone.
So, like I was saying, the 4Ps, the 4Ps that was set up for the Philippines to solve that malnutrition.
Okay.
It's still, until now, to this day, it still hasn't changed the statistics from the 2018 data. It's still the same until now.
Mm.
That's why I think right now it's also being focused. Also, why Sir Tony is also focusing on on Rise and Rebuild, is because even that something with a lot of money like the 4Ps being given to the children, it still hasn't changed. So
In our case, Gigi,
Still a relevant issue.
yeah, in our case, we just look at this as where is the best impact with the little resources we have, right? And then we will match it up. We realize that when people survives, they'll get more chances, right, of bettering their lives. But for those that will die shortly, there's no more chance.
Yeah.
So we thought that we'll intervene there so that they don't die.
Mm.
That to us is already huge contribution, although small, right, in the scheme of things. Small in the scheme of things. So if we can get more donors, right, or supporters, we certainly can expand our reach. So that's
Yes.
the answer to the
So
question.
there was no like a process, right? Maybe we'll save the dolphins. The tortoises. Maybe we'll do climate change.
Stop the straws.
So like I said, no advocacy is better than another, right? I mean, we all have our advocacies. We all wanna solve everything, but we can't because of our limited time on this planet and our limited resources. So was there a process that you chose hunger and nutrition as your advocacy?
Yes.
Or that was like you were already set on it.
Yeah, there was really that process.
Okay.
You know, when this started by a couple,
Okay.
Ray Goodson and his wife Debbie.
Okay.
They were here in 1961 as a missionary,
Oh, okay. Okay.
right? Then he returned in 1974 also as in missionary work. And the people that served with them, they were young, with neckties and all that. Then later on, they become wealthy when they go back. They were lawyers, doctors. And I think in their faith, they actualize loving your neighbor in the real sense of the word.
Okay.
So they donate
Yes.
money, right? The other thing is there's also a positive thing in donating stateside. There's also a tax deduction.
Correct. Yeah.
Pilipinas, wala yata. Or,
Wala na.
kung mga gamay-gamay.
Yeah.
Dito sa US, kung gamay-gamay, may tax deduction.
Yeah.
Sa aton, wala. Kung dako na gid ko ang company, tagaan kag doni, certification, and stuff like that. So, when they came here,
Yes.
they first entered helping during Hayan, Yolanda.
Yeah, Yolanda.
Yeah, so they get into building houses and what do you call these toilets and all that.
So that's how
water.
R&R started.
That's
Rise
how
and Rebuild.
R&R started. However, later on they realized, wait a minute, that's supposed to have been done by the parents, right? So even the feeding should be done by the parents, but they see that the parents just couldn't. In the meantime, kids are dying. So they realize, well, this is the only resources we have. We cannot be messianic complex and save everybody. We just have to save a few. So that's the kind of matrix that.
So that's how it all
Yes,
started.
that's how it all started.
From an actual good son. It's not just a name for your farm. It's actually an actual person, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
the
it
name.
is. Yes, it is. He's now 87 years old.
Wow,
and
okay.
He now has cancer.
Oh.
And therefore, last year was probably the last time he was able to come. here.
To the Philippines, to
Yes.
Cebu.
But there are many wonderful people, Justin, that donates, nameless. They don't even want to be known. They
Wow,
just
they don't even want to be acknowledged.
yeah, they don't even want to be acknowledged. So they just
That's
give
nice,
donation $25, $50. And you know what I was saying, if we can rally our citizenry here in causes like this, for example, not only ours, right?
Yeah.
But there are others, we can do much more.
Exactly, that's right. And that's why we also want to encourage our listeners who are watching us right now on our YouTube channel or listening to us on 105.1 PMC. If they would like to make a donation or help support your cause, to curb uh, chronic hunger and to encourage sustainability through Rise and Rebuild Foundation as well as the Goodson Farms, Hydroponic Farms farm in Cebu. Where do they go, sir, or Raj? Where do they visit, and how can we show our support?
So you can check out the website riseandrebuild.org. You can leave as much as you want. They accept PayPal and I think Visa as well if you would like to donate. So check it out. To our listeners at top of the morning, check out riseandrebuild.org. www.riseandrebuild.org.
You know,
Okay, what about
we're all on board
hydroponic
when it
farm?
comes to other technologies, right? And the adoption is pretty high. Again, let's talk about electric cars. Everybody's all over the world is adopting it. How do you feel about hydroponics? Do you feel a groundswell of interest when it comes to using this technology, not just here in Cebu, but elsewhere, like all over the world, based on what you've experienced and seen all over the world?
Yeah. In fact, that's already out there.
Mm.
In the Philippines, probably new.
Mm. I've actually heard this for a
Relatively?
long time.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
but I'm surprised we haven't adopted it yet.
Yeah, there's not many integrators or adapters yet of the program.
Yeah.
I also don't know why.
Mm.
But I can only guess like the capex, for example, and stuff like that.
But like I said,
knowledge,
there
information.
is a watered down, cheaper version of what you're doing, right? And they can just scale it. Yeah, once they make enough profits, maybe they actually do, because kanamangong sterility. That's a big deal for this technology, right? And to make a place sterile requires a lot of building, right?
Yes.
You know, like the structure has to be like solid, right? And all of those things. And I can imagine that to cost a lot. But like I said, not my cheap version or not. And then you can go to the thing, the what you aspire to actually build eventually. Once you see it's working in your
Yes.
in your end. So I think this is actually business that can the barrier to entry is actually not that much if you really think about it. But you need to teach them. So is that what you're doing also, sir? Are you teaching them how to make a smaller version of the hydroponic technology farming?
Yeah. Right now, we're not there.
Okay.
Our focus right now is to sell this.
Okay.
Right? Because we're new,
Okay.
generally speaking. I think at certain point in time, we'll probably get there.
Okay. So, Justin, do you have anything else? Because I think we're about to eat the romaine here
Lettuce.
and the lettuce.
By the way, Jiggy,
I know. Magkandipsal na mo.
in that red box, there's a prepared
salad.
salad.
Oh wow! Oh my
Yes.
goodness!
Unfortunately for Justin, is not here.
Oh shit! There, kaluoy ni Justin in town.
Justin, we have prepared salad for you. If you're willing to come here,
We got raspberry.
Wow!
What do you call
Wow.
that?
Wow.
Dressing.
dress it.
And
Vinaigrette. We have sesame seed
vinaigrette
dressing.
and sesame seeds.
Wow!
dressing.
Did you make this yourself, Raj?
Oh my
and
No,
sir?
goodness.
the dressing is purchased stateside. Right?
Oh, okay.
But
it
my
was put
wife
together.
did the cutting this morning.
Oh, okay. So your
thank you very much.
your hydroponic plant, Goodson Hydroponic plant, is it like open to the public? Can they look at it? Can they see it? Can they?
Can we visit? Can
Right
we
now,
visit?
not generally, but
Okay.
for you
Okay.
and Justin, you're welcome to visit.
Okay,
Right.
but it's not yet open.
Yay.
Not yet open
Not yet.
to
Okay,
the
but,
public.
but is that part of the plan to make it open to the public?
I think in the future
Yeah.
that will be the case.
But it'd be cool to have like a
Perfect.
salad restaurant there too, right?
We have a cafeteria there that is really
Yeah.
nice.
Oh, really?
It's almost like a what you call that coffee
Coffee bean tea, Boss
No.
Coffee, Starbucks.
Starbucks.
Oh, really?
It doesn't.
Wow.
It's far from Starbucks,
Okay.
right? But it's nice.
Oh, so
you sit down there.
Okay.
And
What is it? What is it called? Yeah, does it have a name?
It's not really a. It's not
It's
really
just a cafeteria. It's just
place to
our
eat.
cafeteria.
Ah.
It's a place to eat.
I want you to I want you to imagine like the lobby of Shangri-La. That's what it looks like.
The lot. That's too much.
Dial down, way down.
Okay.
But it kind of looks like
So, by the way, is it like open to the public, that part? Not also.
So
right now.
for invited guests.
Ah,
For invited
okay,
guests.
okay.
Mostly hotels would come, right?
Para Tilawan, example.
For example, Abaca.
Oh. Jason,
group
yeah,
of
okay.
companies
Okay.
have visited the farm.
Oh.
And
So are they one of your customers, Abaca?
yes.
Okay.
We're now working. We're not
That's
accreditation
amazing.
right now. As soon as we get that approved, then we will just wait for their orders.
Wow.
Yes. And the other thing, Jiggy, these plants, like I mentioned earlier, this is not only culinary. They are now starting to become ornamental.
Wow. Okay.
Right? Some hotels have approached me. I will not mention the name of the hotels
Okay.
yet because they may not like it if I mention. But they're asking me
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
hey, Tony, can you put this in the middle of the dining area so everybody gets to see live lettuces, right?
let's show the people.
I'll show them the arugula.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is the
They can't-
micro arugula or sprouts, right?
Okay.
Microgreens, as we call it.
And you've got to show them also that I can eat it.
Okay, here we go.
Justin, tanalo ko, Justin. I don't know if you can see it.
You can,
I'm just gonna grab
take a
one.
bite.
Taste test.
Okay, take a look at that, man.
sige, go.
There you
How
go.
is it, Chiki?
It's actually really, really good. You know,
fresh.
this can be like my junk
This is a
food,
red
right?
amaranth.
Because I'm always tempted when I watch something on YouTube or on Netflix or whatnot. I'm always tempted to grab something, you know, like junk food. If I have this on my dining table, ako na lang hinahinayon ng kaon ang arugula, right? Right?
Nutritious pa.
Exactly.
Nutritious.
You can practically add this to anything if you want.
Yeah.
Corned beef.
Shout out to Boss Eman Piamonte and Man Doctor. I'm not sure what Christian Jake Gamboa is talking about, but mayong udto ni mo Christian Jake Gamboa. And to L Brown.
Yeah.
L Brown says hydroponics is the future of farming. Almatan, I've heard of that the profit of Goodson Hydroponic Farm helps sustain a foundation. Yes, they help a foundation. It's called the Rise and Build International Foundation. Daghang salamat sa inyong participate. Once again, if they want to know more about Goodson Hydroponic Farms, where should they go?
For Goodson Hydroponic Farms, you can check it out on Facebook.
Okay.
Goodson Hydroponic Farms. You can check any info that you want. There's also a video fully demonstrating why Goodson Hydroponics, why it started, and what we're going for.
Okay. Are you still open to more customers, sir? By the way.
Oh, very much
Okay.
so. Very
Okay.
much so.
Okay.
To our listeners, if you want lettuce for your restaurant, let us know.
Yeah. Yeah. And that
Let us know.
and the more important
Let us know.
the more important part is consistent lettuce supply all year round. That's crucial, right? Because you may have the best looking lettuce now, but you know,
None tomorrow.
none tomorrow, or maghuwat na po kaga another cycle of how long it grows. Because I think this also shortens
Yes.
the curve, right? How long did this lettuce grow, and how long does it usually grow if we planted it on soil?
That one is 2 weeks.
Okay.
Old right now. It can double up in 4 weeks.
Okay.
So in the soil, it's similar.
Okay.
But probably not as fast as this one.
Oh, okay. Very interesting. So much to learn. So many things to talk about.
I know. I feel like
And
exactly, Jiggy.
this is not
enough.
this is not enough. But you know, I was gonna go in the rabbit hole of hunger and poverty and all of that stuff. But you know, we don't have enough time. So maybe we'll invite you again if you don't mind, both of you, Raj and Sir
Sure,
Tony.
of course.
Thank you so much, you guys. Before I let you go, why don't you invite them one more time, Sir Tony and Raj, to help your cause and all of that stuff. Go ahead.
Yes, we're now in Cebu, being the largest Goodson Hydroponic Farms. Like I said, we'd like to offer you the best lettuce all year round. No interruption.
No interruptions. Consistent supply of lettuce from Goodson Hydroponic Farms, the biggest hydroponic farm in Cebu, and perhaps very soon, you'll never know, maybe this year or next year, in the Philippines, and perhaps the world. Why not, right?
That would be great.
Also, if you want to learn more about info about Rice and Rebuild International or about Goodson Hydroponic Farms, you can check out Rice and Rebuild at www.riceandrebuild.org. Or if you want to check out about Goodson Hydroponic Farms, make sure to check out our Facebook page, Goodson Hydroponic Farms, or you can check us out in Instagram as well under Goodson Hydroponic Farms.
Yeah.
Our number is 0917
Write it down. 0917.
0917 118
6847.
6847.
Can you repeat that, sir, one more time?
0917 0917-118-6847.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Tony San Gabriel, the president of Goodson Hydroponic Farms Group Incorporated, the largest hydroponic farm in Cebu, live in the studios of 105.1 TMC, together with, of course, Raj. Daghang salamat inyong duha. Daghang salamat. Thank you so much for being part of Top of the Morning here in 105.1 TMC. This one is Jaden Narvios.